And welcome to another episode of The Escape with Nick and Adam. Except today we're doing a Sunday night nerds episode because there was just so much news over the last few days. Figure, I don't know if we can wait till Tuesday for a normal show. I was just like, yeah, let's just do a show because there's lots to talk about. And you know what? Sometimes there's too much stuff going on. So you're just like, let's just do a show. So, how are you today, my friend?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good.
All right. So we got a lot of DC news. Obviously, the cancellation of Batgirl and the Zaslav is just cleaning house just about everywhere, and it's very clear as to what he's trying to do, and he's getting rid of everything that doesn't make money. And also, we're going to get into the Netflix new series Sandman, based off the Vertigo comic. So, Adam, what do you think about what
Sure.
Zaslav's doing?
I love it. I really do. Like you and I talked about earlier, let's talk about what he's doing first. And that's that he's giving the axe to everything that doesn't fit in with their 10-year DC plan. And also that I'm trying to think of the stoat. The quote. They're also only putting faith into the projects that they think will be helpful to the brand.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Basically, if it's crap, it's not going out. It's not a if, ands, or buts. It's like, well, is this good? Is it bad? Is it whatever it is? Be like, no, if it's not good, if it's not quality, it's not going out. It's that simple. So, that's sounds like a good thing for, I think, most fans. I think that's what most fans want. That's one of the things that was one of the things I got frustrated with Thor: Love and Thunder, where if you're not going to take this stuff somewhat seriously, then why even do it? And I know, it's just comic books. Yeah, but there's certain things where, like, I don't care what you're doing. If you don't take it seriously, then why even bother? So,
Well, right. And I was thinking today, after actually you and I hung up, we were doing a little pre-production talk. I was thinking about that movie Catwoman with
Halle Berry.
Halle Berry. Yeah. That would not get released today.
I don't know if it should have been released then.
That's my point. well, it shouldn't have been released then. No, you're right. That is my point. The number one, it's a bad movie. Number two, it doesn't serve anything. Doesn't serve any stories or anything that was coming out at that time. It was just like, hey, throw this at the wall. Let's see if it sticks.
Well, the only premise I think with that is, hey, let's take Halle Berry, one of the most beautiful women that's ever lived. Let's put her in a skimpy outfit, and let's point it towards nerds and say it's a comic book movie. The nerds will come or run it, but that's not how it works.
Which makes me wonder: was that the thoughts behind Birds of Prey?
Oh, the thought with here, and there's a thing in marketing. There's overvaluing what you think you have. It's like poker, where you think you've got a really good hand, but
Right.
It turns out it's not very good. Like, everybody's like, oh, everybody loves Harley Quinn. Not everybody loves Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn is good in small doses. She's good in the comic books. She's good in the cartoons, but an entire movie centered around Harley Quinn, that's a rough sell for me. And
I get you. You know what, though? My problem with that is I think that they should have called that movie Gotham City Sirens. Should have taken the Black Canary, and they should have taken Huntress out of it. It should have been like a Catwoman, Harley Quinn, I don't know, Poison Ivy, anything but the heroes of the actual Birds of Prey, and called the Gotham City Sirens. It just would have made more sense, at least as far as titles go, and as far as a one, well, like you just said, a Harley Quinn movie. Okay, maybe you don't want to see it. Maybe I don't want one of those. However, if you're gonna have one, at least go along the lines of what's already canon.
Right. Well, and also I think it's also like, hey, we've got Margot Robbie once again, one of the most beautiful women on the planet, as Harley Quinn. Hey, nerds, like it's like they're gonna ring the dinner bell, and the nerds are gonna come run and be like that's not. You clearly don't understand how the nerd psyche works. You
Well,
know.
they rang the nerd dinner bell, in my opinion, with the new Todd Phillips Joker Part Two movie.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and they did and Marvel just did the same thing. They're like, look at all this Marvel stuff, all these comic book movies are coming out, and everybody's going to be like, yeah, but Phase 4 sucked. So,
Right, exactly. But I guess what I'm trying to say is what I like about what Todd Phillips is putting out there for like the Joker movie and everything is one. It's got a French title, something that I can't even say right now, but it does have to do with a shared psychosis and the part two of the 2019 release of Joker with Joaquin Phoenix Parts 2 will be a musical.
yeah, that's the part that scares me just a little bit.
I'm all about it because it doesn't have to fit anywhere. It needs to just be its own like sinister thing. I mean, first of all, they did a very successful movie called Joker without Batman in it.
Right.
So I don't know why not. Let's see what they have here now.
Yeah, so that's the When is Joker Fully Ado coming out. So,
Yeah.
let's do.
That's supposed to be 2024.
Yes, October 2024. October 4th, actually. Let's do the old Google here. Okay, so it's Folly of Two. So that's what it's. I wasn't sure what it meant. Now I know. So it means Folly of Two.
Right. It has to do with some kind of, as they were talking about, I think a shared psychosis too. There's anyways, you can look it up.
Yeah. So just real quick. So I'm on MSN Collider. So when is Joker 2 coming out? October 4th, 2024. After mixed reviews and debates on Joker's moral compass, it took a while to know for certain if there would be even a sequel that would help share on Instagram. Screenplay cover back in June to confirm the news. Not only did he post a feature title for the film, Joker related to, but also revealed that the filmmaker would return to direct and continue to tell the story of the famous film alongside Silver. August 3rd, it was revealed that sequel will come out October 4th, 2024. Release date will be 5 years. But yeah, so not a ton, but but it's happening, and that's good news. But getting back to some of the Batgirl stuff, so we kind of touched on kind of what we think and what has been put out, but it seems like a lot. It's people are drawing weird comparisons between the Batgirl movie and the Snyder Cut, and I'm just like, if you're drawing those conclusions or trying to draw any type of parallels from the Snyder Cut movie, you clearly have no idea what you're talking about, because that was Zack Snyder's project that he was working on. He had a tragedy in his life. Joss Whedon took over. Joss Whedon ruined it, and then everybody started clamoring for the Snyder Cut. From that, this is just David Zaslav came in, screened the movie, and said, "No, we are not releasing this. Not only this not being, put it on the shelf, this is never to be shown, for human consumption
ever."
So,
this is never supposed to reach the light of day.
Pretty much like set this in the deepest, darkest hole and cover it with cement, and don't tell anybody where you hit it. Which means to me is like, Well, that's a good thing because if it's that bad, we're even, David Zaslav, not not exactly, I think, known as a comic book guy, where he goes, "Well, this is a piece of shit." I think the average comic book fan's probably saying, probably for the best.
I think about myself on my second viewing of the Lady Ghostbusters movie. Whoa, what a piece of shit.
Wait a second,
Wait
that
a second
sucked.
here. That was terrible. This is the Saturday Night Live has like really good skits and really bad ones, and it's just like this is an extension of a really bad one. Um, that's it. I agree with him. I don't know if it sucks, let it go. Now, see, here's the thing though. Now I really want to see the movie. I feel the same way about this movie the way I feel about that Wonder Woman pilot back in
Right.
2011.
Well, I really like the actress who they had for her, but yeah.
Me too.
But yeah, I'm kind of with you where I'm like, I kind of want to see the train wreck that is this thing.
It's
But
just
it's
like
one of
that.
those I really want them to release it. I want it to be quote unquote leaked in a couple of years after like they're well into their 10-year plan and it's like going and this is hopefully everything's going well, in their 10-year plan, which is aka known as we're just gonna do what Marvel did, except, the right way this time.
You know what's good about that though? Marvel's pretty much cherry picked their like best situation and their best stories, and they had the best actors playing the best heroes, and those guys don't want to play them anymore. DC hasn't faced that yet. They haven't told their best story.
Well,
They
and
haven't they haven't they haven't they haven't used up their best characters.
well, and geez, who was I forget. I was watching a video earlier, and they were saying how basically Marvel's going to get to the point where they essentially will have to reboot the Avengers. So they'll have to redo, recast Iron, recast, Captain America, and basically Marvel's plan is to or DC's plan should be to get in before that happens again, because I think you're starting. They've already, made their own bet as to what they're going to quote unquote call the Avengers from here on out. Eventually you're going to get to the point where you realize no one cares about Riri Williams. No one cares about, all these characters that you're introducing as quote unquote the Avengers now. People are going to want the original Avengers back, and you're going to have to reboot that eventually, but that'll be a little ways down the line where, probably it's, once again, a decade down the line where obviously, you know, uh, you can't have Chris Evans playing Captain America. You can't have Robert Downey Jr. playing Iron Man. So you'll have to use a new fresh crop of actors, and that's kind of what the video that they were saying that earlier. Basically, DC's plan should be get in their Justice League slash their Avengers in before Marvel can reboot their universe again. If that makes sense.
So like this has to be good before Marvel reboots.
Yes, that's kind of the plan that they were laying.
I hope so. I mean, I don't care. Like I just want good movies. That's all I really want out of them. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, and we've said this before. Like Marvel showed the way. This is the blueprint. Do
Right.
this. DC said, we ain't going to do that. We're going to do our own thing because that's worked so well before. And then they just clearly pooped the bed. And now.
Well, you know what Warner Brothers and DC Rick really fucked up with was that. I'm sorry to say, as much as I like, first of all, Man of Steel is one of the greatest comic book movies that has most underrated comic book movies ever made because that movie's awesome. But they didn't come up with a plan. They're like, oh, Zack Snyder, that's a good idea. Here we go.
Well, and I
Zack Snyder's a great filmmaker. He's not someone that you pick to create an entire fucking universe out of, because when you do, you end up with a Batman and Robin all-star. That's exactly what happened right there. I'm serious.
Right.
Like, if we were to read issue 2, 3, 4, and 5 of what we already started on this show to read, you'd see why the Batfleck freaking kills everybody in his fucking wake.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And that's why.
Well, it's to use a sports analogy. Back if anybody knows anything about football, especially football from the '90s, Bill Parcells was a coach of the Cowboys, but he also wanted to be GM. He used it as a chef. He wanted to, say, well, if I'm going to be using your ingredients, well, I want to go buy the groceries, right?
Right.
And that's kind of what I think DC thought they had in uh, Zack Snyder, where, well, you'll just be a combination of Kevin Feige and our master filmmaker. Well,
Right.
it's just not that's not conceivable to do. You can't put it all on one guy. And then and it's already bad enough where you have the, Kevin Feige, trying to pull all the puppet strings, to an extent. But then when you've got to pull all the puppet strings and then actually make the movie, like that's just so ridiculous to even conceive that that was the plan.
Exactly. And if you look at Kevin Feige's career prior to coming to Marvel, he's got what? 9, maybe 10, 12, 13 separate Marvel pictures under his belt before the MCU is even freaking made.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's not a director.
Well,
He's not the filmmaker. He's always been a producer. You know what I mean? And
well,
so you're going to get a director to do exactly what you're saying, the direction and the producing roles.
well, and they're starting to do what Marvel did at the beginning of this whole thing, where you had John Favreau, who made Iron Man 1. I arguably the best of the entire Marvel universe, the first Iron. So you at the beginning of the MCU, you had John Favreau, you had James Gunn, you had Edgar Wright, you had Kenneth Branagh, you had all these established, excellent directors. Oh, and then you had Kevin Feige and other, there's a couple other guys that were with them. They slowly got whittled down to essentially Kevin Feige. But now you have DC. DC has James Gunn now. They still have Zack Snyder if they really want to use it.
Well, yes, absolutely.
And you have James Gunn who's trying to get John Favreau, who's reportedly under rumor, not happy over at Disney right now. So
Yes.
if he's not happy, and James Gunn's like, come over to DC, man. You can play in the entire DC universe. Let you do wherever the hell you want. That's got to be an enticing thing. So if whoever they get to, quote unquote, be their Kevin Feige, or if they're just kind of going to let the inmates sort of run the asylum, but all the inmates are awesome directors, then, that I'm okay with that. So
I would much rather see how this 10-year plan with Zaslav pans out, and I got a lot more faith in it than I do after the release of Man of Steel going into Batman v Superman. So when I see Batman v Superman, I still won't watch the theatrical cut. I won't. It's not a good movie. And there's not a single Marvel movie out there that you need to watch the director's cut to enjoy phase 1, 2, and 3.
It's one, and that's one of the things I guess is interesting about Zack Snyder, because it was Taika Waititi who just recently came out and said director's cuts suck, and typically he's right, except for Zack Snyder's movies. Zack Snyder's, like, he's known for, hell, if you took away half the slow-mo shots, you cut every movie by about 15 minutes. Like, he shoots so much that is so important, and it makes the story better. He's one of the few directors where the director cuts actually make the movie better.
He's such a piece of shit, Taika Waititi, that every fucking release he has is the director's cut. Because everyone thinks he's such a genius. And he's not.
Yeah,
he's not.
He's the flavor. He's the flavor of the month right now, and very soon, quickly, people realize, oh, this is all you can do.
Just ask Shamhammer, M. Night Shyamalan. Ask him.
Brought up the Shamhammer.
Hey, look. All right, very well. Let's kick Matt Reeves off of the Batman 2. Let's put Taika Waititi in charge of the Batman 2 with starring Rob Pattinson. And let's see how much you fuckers out there think. No, I'm just kidding.
Please don't do that.
I lost my
Please don't
temper.
do that.
Let's see how much you think he's a great director once you see the sequel to the Batman be torn in half. No, I mean, that's an asinine comment, though, to say that director's cuts. No,
Listen, seriously,
I don't agree with that at all.
I agree with him because I've watched a lot of director's cuts and the final cut, and this is the real cut. I feel like this thing sucks. There's a reason all that was cut out. But except for the Zack Snyder movies, where obviously the Snyder cut of the Justice League, is it the Batman versus Superman? All those of his cuts, those actually work. Those actually, help the story. Those actually make the film better. They make it, a 3-hour monster to sit down and watch, but it is a better movie. That's why the Snyder cut took me 3 days to watch.
Right, and I think the best comparison that I can bring up for this is Batman v Superman, because there is no theatrical cut of Justice League that is Zack Snyder's. It's all the Joss Whedon cut is the theatrical cut. But Batman v Superman, the Ultimate Edition, and then the theatrical cut, it's all his. And you can see where the studio was like, no, we need to cut this, we need to cut that. And as soon as they did it, you lose the entire section of the movie where Lex Luthor is the one pulling all the strings. You lose it in just that one scene where you see him visit an inmate in prison. You see the KG Beast visit an inmate in prison and pay that guy money to kill the dude who's branded with the bat symbol. And that is what has been going on. But you never find that out in the theatrical cut. So you're left with a loose end that's a major plot point that doesn't make sense.
Right. Yeah, if you sit there and watch the theatrical cut, you're like, what the hell's going on? And then like we're saying, when you start adding stuff in there, be like, oh, that does make sense.
Yeah, because first of all, it makes total sense that Batman is branding people because he's older and he's lost his freaking mind. All right, I'll buy that. But why are the inmates killing each other with the bat brand on them? I don't understand. Yeah.
So, but anyway, so getting back to the 10-year plan. So Batgirl's cut. And here's the thing. People are like, this has never happened before. Okay, whatever. That's fine. I mean, that's not true. I'm sure it's just one of those. It wasn't even, that's the thing. The Batgirl, it wasn't even that high profile of a project. Wasn't it just supposed to go to HBO Max anyway?
Yeah, but it wasn't Kevin Tsujihara. It was the next guy after Kevin Tsujihara, who was in charge of the regime over there at Warner Brothers. It was supposed to go straight to HBO Max.
Right.
This is the same asswipe that thought it was a good idea to release all these going to theater movies on HBO Max.
Right.
And then, unfortunately, if you look it up, what happened to these guys, or what happened to him and everybody else, was that they ended up having to pay more money to their, you know how Scarlett Johansson sued because she lost money off of the initial release sales? Mm-hmm. They had to go back and pay all those actors for every single one of those movies. It was a horrible, horrible, horrible business strategy to release those movies on HBO Max at the time.
Well, yeah, I think we called it out. I think we called it on called it out on the show and said, yeah, it's stupid. Because unless you're going to, if you weren't planning on going to see it in a theater, you knew you just had to wait 45 days.
Right, exactly. So then you got this movie that's like strictly going to HBO Max. There's no foresight into that. There's no, thinking into that. Eventually, the theaters were going to open back up. This was a train wreck to begin with.
And it's funny because Zaslav is also the same guy who came in and cut CNN Plus after a month, and that thing cost $300 million as a platform. And you think he cares about a $70 to $90 million movie? No, he doesn't care. He's just going to go. But he is putting most of his eggs in the basket that is Black Adam, because that apparently is part of the 10-year plan. Now, this is just strictly rumor. I've heard that rumor. The rumor is that The Rock's Black Adam is supposed to be similar to the Thanos of the DC EU going forward. That terrifies me if that rumor is true at all. So, one, and here's the thing. It's not like, oh, and another reason like the Batgirl got cut so easily, Leslie Grace has zero cachet in Hollywood. She's a beautiful young actress. I'm sure she's going to have a very nice career. The Rock is known for making money in the box office. He has a track record. Leslie Grace does not. Batgirl does not. The Rock, everything he touches makes money right now. Not saying he's a better actor than anybody. I've actually said several times, I'm sick of The Rock. I'm sick of The Rock being in everything. I'm sick of The Rock being The Rock on screen. And that's what I'm afraid he's going to do with Black Adam. Going to do a touch of an accent. Rock, give me a break. But anyway, so The Rock and Black Adam is considered a part of the 10-year plan, apparently. And rumor has it, once again, rumor, Superman is supposed to be Henry Cavill as Superman is supposed to be reintroduced as Superman into the DCE moving forward.
Did you ever see that DC Showcase animated like one shot, it's like 15 minutes long, Black Adam, and it's got Shazam versus Black Adam and Superman's in it?
Yes.
My favorite part about that is Clark Kent is interviewing Billy Batson. All hell breaks loose. All of a sudden, in the middle of the battle, Superman realizes that Shazam is Billy.
Right.
And he says he's losing his temper, and he's like, these they're all bullies. I have the power now. I have to stop them. I'm gonna, flip. He's pissed now, and he's having like this moment, like, I have the power to stop all this bully stuff. And Superman says something to him. He goes, remember what you thought of before? How if you had these kind of powers or something like that? He goes, be good. And he looks at him and goes, so be good. Like be a good boy. And that's when Shazam's like, dials back. And then he just beats on Black Adam a little bit more and humiliates him, but he doesn't kill him. Man, if we saw something like that, my head would explode.
That's it. There is a saving grace to what they're doing. If they can, quote unquote, get their stuff together and actually nail this, they will have no problem, going forward. They just have to get their shit together. Like, we've said this numerous times. The DC universe is all under the control of the DC universe. There's no like splitting up characters and trading characters back and forth with different properties. They own everything. There's no reason they should not be able to make an excellent DCEU moving forward. They just have to have the right people in place. The only problem is we don't know quite who is running the ship right.
And they're not necessarily hired, or if they are, they're not announced. But here's the thing. This doesn't sound like the people who would greenlight, and it was greenlit, a Wonder Twins movie. Who the fuck greenlights a Wonder Twins movie when you're sitting on Superman? When you're sitting on Green Lantern? Why
Green
would
Lantern,
you do that?
Hawkman, Martian Manhunter, all these characters that was the frustrating part. They were starting to get introduced into the Snyderverse. Those characters were very slowly starting to get introduced into the Snyderverse, and then it was just, chopped.
Yeah.
But also it's the same ones who, and we're still not sure what's going to happen with the Blue Beetle movie. But also it's kind of the same thing. I was like, everybody's like, who the hell's the Blue Beetle?
Well, that's going forward as far as I know. But you could take abstract characters and
sure.
You can if you do it right. I mean, Marvel did it. I mean, shit, we're living in a world with a successful Ant-Man movie. Right. I'm not trying to compare bugs to bugs. That was not my intention there. But no one ever heard of Ant-Man before. You know what I mean?
But it's ancillary characters to ancillary characters. But at the same time, he was introduced in, via the Avengers. So it was very easy to, where I think a character like the Blue Beetle, who's a cool character, once you kind of like, oh, you read up his power, like, it's kind of cool. But it takes, you got to get introduced into, have him introduced. It's hard to just introduce him on his own.
Exactly.
So, but
Bring him into another movie or whatever. I want a Blue Beetle, Booster Gold buddy cop movie. That's what
yeah,
I want.
yeah, but this is it's like, but you have a lot of people going like, who's Blue Beetle and who's Buster Gold? Yeah, that's
But
part of
that's
the problem with the DC, and honestly, that is part of the problem with the DC universe because one of the things that well before the MCU ever did, they had the X Men cartoon, and they introduced so many characters in that X Men cartoon. It was that, like I said, it was pre even thinking about making the movies. It was literally just a vehicle to introduce more people to the Marvel universe.
yeah. What was really cool about that old X-Men cartoon was like you'd run into different characters, and sometimes if they were worth telling about, they would. Otherwise, you just kind of see them running in the background.
Yeah,
They were there though.
right. Yeah, I
So
said that they might have just been thrown in for an episode or two. They might have thrown in for a couple episode story arc, but you you got introduced to bunch, a bunch of X Men and other Marvel characters. That's how I figured. That's how I learned who Carol Danvers was.
oh man, wasn't that a good story in X-Men?
Yeah, well, that was always the thing. Be like, oh, Rogue's got these powers. Well, where'd she get them? Roll from Carol Danvers. Who the hell's Carol Danvers? Who's Miss Marvel?
Right. And you got a little bit of a you got a little education on that.
Yeah, and yeah, that's the. I wish that if they could actually get all their ducks in a row, and been saying this for it feels like years. We haven't even been doing the show for a year yet, but it feels like if they could get their stuff together and just do what they're supposed to do, the DC property would have no problem. They would just explode.
It would blow right up. You left off with Man of Steel as far as part 2 goes. Then yeah, you went into okay, we got Superman back, he's alive. Let's start with Superman. What is going on in that world? It's that simple. I mean, you're at a perfect soft reboot era. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. Everybody's like, "Oh, there's superhero fatigue." No, there's not superhero fatigue. It's bad writing fatigue. That's what people are sick of, and that's one of the reasons Batgirl got canceled because no one look and look. We talk about we call ourselves the escape because it's about escapism. And guess what? All this stuff, whether you want to say it's woke or not woke or whatever you want to say it is, that stuff does not sell, and people will not go to the theater to watch that stuff. And that's one of the biggest things that that's being reported is Zaslav said, no, that's a woke piece of crap. That's what that is. And if that's what's happening moving forward, I want that gone and everything that's associated with that. That's going here in the garbage, So that's where that because wasn't that because that movie had Michael Keaton in it. I think that was supposed to have Supergirl in it.
No, that was the Flash. The Flash has Michael Keaton and Supergirl in it. This movie has Michael Keaton in it,
right?
In a role that seems like is Batman Beyondish.
I'm not sure, but all I know is the rumor was he was supposed to get killed in it, and that was one of the big things. So you would have had, a dead Michael Keaton, Batman. So you would have had a Batgirl, and then essentially they killed off Superman in the other one. So you would have had a Batgirl and a Supergirl as part of the Trinity. So you would have had a all female Trinity in the DC EU.
Yee. No male Wonder Man. No Wonder Man.
Nope. It's like that. It's like that scene in Avengers Endgame where all the girls are all walking all badass and everybody in the theater went like that. That's what that movie. If you had the Trinity as all women would have gone. The whole except an entire movie of.
I kind of like that splash that splash page though. That's like a infinite. I think it was well better handled by Marvel. I don't mind.
Everybody in the theater went complete eye roll, like, oh my gosh. All right, thank you. Because that was also the rumor afterwards. Be like, well, we're gonna have a whole Marvel team of Marvel female characters or female Avengers. Be like, no one wants that. No one asked for that. Just give us the same characters, just beating up more people. That's why I don't understand. Phase 4 literally should have gone right into Galactus. Simple, easy. Instead of the Kang the Conqueror, where you got to lay out all this stuff, you know what you got? You got a giant guy. He eats planets. There's your new bad guy. Have fun with that.
I don't look. I'm with you. Bring in Galactus. That's great. Where is, who is, how is the Fantastic Four involved? Where are they?
Right. No,
it's like having a giant spotlight in the sky every night that has a 4 in it, and no one shows up to the rooftop to.
Except for Chris Evans again.
Oh, look,
I'm back again, guys. All right, fine. Your third trip through the MCU. All right.
Either give me Fantastic Four or give me the Adventures of Steve Rogers throughout time.
The Time Hopper.
Yeah, the Time Hopper. Give me something, because I want something like we all want something we can recognize. That's the thing. It's like this is an unrecognizable Marvel. And to tell you the truth, it's pretty fucking sad. It's an unrecognizable DC too, except for the stuff that's strictly Snyder.
Right, and that was the problem. But also, I feel bad because I feel like I kind of was poo-pooing on Jay a little bit last time when he was in, because he was like, saying how Kang's awesome and this is awesome. I was like, I get all that. That's cool, but there's so much setup that goes into like Secret Wars, because here's the thing. I didn't know exactly what Secret Wars was. I had an idea what it was. And then like I started like reading up and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is going to be so hard to do well, or I'm just like, that's why I was like, dude, just do Galactus. Just do the giant, planet eating monster. Just do that. That's way easier for people to understand.
And the left field part about that, it's like, you don't have an excuse. You can't tell me, you can't do Galactus. Well, what about Erishim and that movie The Eternals that just came out? Then what is
the TV show that they put it in? Yeah,
the TV show.
Yeah, Moon Knight was the TV show.
Erishim was in that.
Yeah, the giant. They had the big giant guys fighting.
They had Celestials.
Not Celestials, but the big. The big Egyptian gods fighting.
Yeah. Like.
I just meant as a special effects wise. There's no reason you can say you can't do Galactus as a special effect wise.
Right, but remember exactly, and I'm agreeing with you. Remember in the Eternals, the big Celestial that stuck his face in the atmosphere?
Yep.
I wish we would have got Galactus.
Where did that go?
Yeah, why didn't we get Galactus doing that?
Well, I was still. Okay, this is how much I still wanted this to happen. I still wanted at Fantastic Four 2, Rise of the Silver Surfer, that big, cloud of dust that was, Galactus. I was still waiting for like a fingertip or like a hand to emerge from that. I was hoping so bad that it was going to turn into something, and they just kept it as a big cloud of dust.
Yeah, I know.
But
that was a huge letdown, and that killed that. That killed the third movie.
Yes, a couple other things, but yeah, that was If
you'd have given a proper Galactus at the end of that movie, you'd have got a standing ovation. Because that movie, it was a typical superhero movie of its time, but it also ended like a typical superhero movie of its time.
Yeah.
If it would have ended with Galactus, we'd be having a totally different conversation right now.
Well, I think you'd be having a different MCU right now.
Possibly, yes.
One that would have been quarterbacked by Sony instead of them basically, branching off and doing their own
thing.
Right. And basically starting Marvel Studios. But anyway. All right. So one here. Okay. So I made a video earlier. I don't know if you got a chance to watch it, but it was kind of getting back to like Zaslav and all that. So Zaslav is basically trimming all the fat. Right now, he's working on DCEU. He's working on the movies division. He has to get to the root of the problem with DC, and that is the comic books right. The only problem, because you have a bunch of quote unquote, writers, but they're more activists than writers trying to invoke all these, silly titles. You had Tim Sheridan. Tim Sheridan took 2 pretty big L's last week. He's a writer and was saying, hey, and he had this stupid tweet. I'll see if I can find it, but he had this tweet where it was, oh yeah, fans say that they just, make up new characters. We make up new characters, but they don't accept them. I was like, that's because you have to do the work, Tim. You can't just introduce characters and be like, ta-da. Holy shit, I got to. Okay. I did not get blocked by Tim Sheridan, but sorry to pull that up. But, so, sorry, bear with me for 1 second. I wasn't sure if we were going to go this way or not. But it's just one of those things where, like, these writers, they just don't want to put in the work, and I don't understand it, like, at all. And they just think that, oh yeah, we're just going to introduce, these, the gay characters, the trans characters, and whatever, and well, you're just going to like them. Be like, I don't care what their sexuality is. I don't care what they do. If it's not a good character, Tim, we don't want it.
Bottom line.
And it's just one of those things where it's just like, but it seems like, Adam, I don't know even what generation we quote unquote fall into, but I think we end up falling into the millennial generation, and that just frustrates me.
I love it. We're the introduction to chaos.
But also I feel like we're like in between generations where I don't feel like part of any generation.
Yeah, because
I don't identify with Gen Z, and I certainly don't identify with millennials. So
just don't call me one of those wagon trail guys or the freaking Oregon Trail dude. I'm not that either. So no, I'll tell you what, man. I don't know. I just want you need fun, you need adventure, and in some of your comic books, you need fun, you need adventure, and you need a little bit of doom and gloom in some of them. Batman as a character, you need a little bit of doom and gloom in. Superman is not. You need hope, fighting doom and gloom in a Superman movie. So
yeah, it's just frustrating where it's just like hey, look, if I don't, like I said, I don't care what sexuality, I don't care what you do behind closed doors. Are you a good hero or aren't you?
Right.
And to develop and flesh out a good character, you have to put in the work. And it usually takes time. One of the best examples is, I'll skip over to Star Wars universe. People hated Ahsoka at the beginning. They hated her. They thought she was annoying, a pain in the ass, just an unlikable character. But over the time that they actually put into sculpting and molding the character a little bit, one of the most beloved it's not post, but prequel era characters that there are. So much so that she's still included into the DC the Disney Plus stuff.
Well, just look at Truth, Justice, and the American Way.
Don't even.
No, I'm going there. I'm going there because in 1978 they went after it in the movie Superman, and they did it wonderfully. Because even in 1978, one could argue, well, wouldn't Superman be an entire world's superhero? Yeah, he would. So, in what I think is one of the greatest romantic scenes in movies, let alone superhero movies, is when Superman and Lois are together on that patio, on her patio in Superman. She says, "Why are you here?" And he says, "I'm here to fight for truth, justice, and the American way." And she says, "You're going to end up fighting every elected official in the country." And he says, "I'm sure you don't mean that, Lois." And that's it.
Yeah.
That's perfection. That's gold right there.
Well, that's it. Because one, it took a talented writer to you don't need to tell your audience what to think.
Right.
Your audience hopefully they're smart enough to think for themselves. And you can also look, there's been many times where I've been watching something, someone has made a point, and you know what? I go, okay, good point. I don't get all upset. I don't get all pissy. I just go, okay, good point. But it's when you ham fisted, hit people over the head constantly with stuff. That's when they go, I don't want this. I don't want what you're selling. You have to let
Exactly.
you have to let the audience make up the mind for themselves. And that's one of the things I've never understood about this modern the basically if you don't like a product, you're whatever, X, Y, or Z, whatever it is bad. Instead of going, hey, the fans don't like this, maybe I'm wrong, or maybe I'm out of touch. The only time that's even happened in the last few years was the director of uh, Terminator. Is it Dark Fate? The one of the last Terminators, where he goes, "Yeah, I thought I had a better pulse as to what was going on with my audience, and it turns out I didn't. So my bad."
Well, that's a testament there, right there, because whatever happened to just believing in your art, putting it out there, and letting it stand or fall for itself.
Right.
And that's not something that's evident these days. So
Absolutely. But Adam, something that just got released, and I'm not gonna lie, I was very skeptical. I had not very high hopes for this show, but right now the Sandman is getting really, it's getting rave reviews.
it's because it should.
It's because one, it's handled correctly, it's handled with care. The creators involved in the process, and let me get to one of the main reasons that I had skepticism was when they introduced the cast, they made a point to put in their pronouns. Now, what you can say,
Yeah,
whatever you want to say about pronouns, there's a lot of things. Here's the thing: I don't understand a lot in the world, and and I'm perfectly okay with you do you, I'll do me. That's fine. You want to use pronouns? I have no problem. I'll call you whatever you want. But when I see things that can be taken and used, as basically as a point of leverage or used to maybe uh, kind of poke the bear of an audience, if you will, I don't care for that stuff. And I thought that's kind of what it was. So that kind of put me on edge. Where I'm like, oh, this probably isn't going to go well. But everything I've seen so far is the Sandman is a hit. There's no other way to say that Sandman is a hit right now.
never start boiling water and you start seeing like the initial bubbles, and then by the end of it you see the blub, 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 blub. That's where the first episode left off. It hasn't even started to like get hot yet, and it's very, 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 and again I say very, very close to the source material. It's crazy, and I can't wait to meet. I can't wait to meet his sister, Death.
Well,
That's going to be nuts.
right. Once again, I did not read this. I did not read the Sandman, any of it, just because. I'll be perfectly honest. I heard a lot about it. Obviously, when did the Sandman originally come out?
1989.
1980. So that was a few years after. I definitely wasn't mature enough when I started in the early 90s.
Me neither.
It probably would have been something more for me in my when we were graduating in the late 90s. But at the same time, I thought that was probably, that's probably something for goth kids or, a little bit later, the emo kids. So I was like, yeah, that's not for me either. So I just never got into it. And, but one of the most iconic characters in it is obviously the Sandman, but also Death. So, and I know one of the biggest concerns was, I believe they race swapped the character of Death.
Yeah, they did. And the only concern, I haven't seen what she looks like. I haven't seen what she looks like in character now, because Neil Gaiman, when he created the character of Death, she very, very, very much looked like Winona Ryder grown up from Beetlejuice.
Right. And that's one of the things, because you're not talking about just an iconic character from that comic. You're talking about one of the most iconic characters of the 90s slash late 80s and
Right.
going forward.
Right. But if they did this well with the first episode, I gotta believe that the second episode is. I gotta jump off this podcast and go watch the second episode. What am I doing here? No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
But yeah, I'm not too worried about that. Like if when they did the Lawrence Fishburne as Perry White and whatnot, and they've re-swapped Catwoman before, as long as it's in the veins of, hi, the character's not changed, we're okay. We're okay by me.
Well, and I think that's one of the biggest issues is when you start, and we said this before, when you start taking liberties with the characters, that's where a lot of people have issues. Now, if the actress and the writing stays true to the character, I don't think it's much of an issue. But as I was saying earlier, one of the biggest concerns is that is one of the most iconic characters from this series. And that's where a lot of people are saying, ooh, are we going to mess with that? And be like, apparently they are going to mess with that. So
she needs to be bubbly. She needs to be like one of the warmest people Like you're hanging out with her and you have no idea that you're dead and that she's there, and that's it's got to be like that. I mean, it's so crazy. You know what I mean? That's all I get. That's it. I'm sorry. That's it. It's time to go.
So,
oh man, guys, go out there, read Sandman, or listen to the audio drama, or watch this show on Netflix.
So Adam, so do we know like what this does in correlation for as far as what this covers in the comics, what this the Netflix series is supposed to cover? Because I know the first 10 episodes are like chapters. And do they go along with the comics, or have you not checked that?
Well, they're supposed to go right along with the comics. Neil Gaiman is like the showrunner of this, and he's the creator and writer of this comic. Anyhow, I can't say. I mean, look, I can't tell you that it's shot for shot and panel for panel like Zack Snyder's Watchmen, okay, or what was it? Frank Miller and Robert Rodriguez, Sin City. I can't say it's like that, but nothing gets closer. I mean,
Right.
It was just read the first trade, watch this, and you'll see what I'm talking about. It seems like this went through the entire first trade paperback, the first graphic novel. It seems like that's what the first episode did, and it did it well. What happens if you capture the Lord of the Dream World?
Right, which I thought, once again, I didn't know very much about Sandman. But yeah, it's a super intriguing concept of what happens when people can't wake up from their dreams, right?
Or people can't go to sleep.
Right.
Can't go to sleep. People can't wake up. People can't go to sleep. And then things that would have just been nightmares, something personal or whatever you face in your own dreams and whatnot, that escapes the dream realm, and now there's monsters in the fucking real world.
Yeah, so let's go through the cast real quick. So the cast so far. Oops, hey. And I tell you, the fan art gets pretty racy pretty quick. I clicked two things over. I was like, oh, that's not what I was trying to show.
And they have not revealed her as Death yet either, as far as I know. I want to see what she looks like. That'll tell us everything.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the biggest, like, everybody kind of holding their breath for that one. So let's go through the cast real quick. And a lot of the cast, a lot of known cast, but also a lot of unknown actors for the cast. So, all right. So for Dream, we have Tom Sturridge. The Corinthian is Boyd Holbrook. Holbrook is from Narcos, and he's also in Logan. So you also have Patton Oswalt as Matthew the Raven. Vivian Achampong. I apologize. I'm destroying that last name. Vivine, actually, I probably should have first name too. Vivine Achampong, who plays Lucine. Uh, Benesu Semenai. Good lord, these names. I apologize. Plays Rose Walker. Mason Alexander Park plays Desire. They were also in uh, Cowboy Bebop. Rizan Jamal plays Lita Hill. Sandra James Young plays Unity Kincaid. David Oulis plays John D. Um, Jolie Richardson plays Ethel Cripps. Jenna Coleman plays Joanna Constantine. So that was another one of those like, not sure because that was supposed to be John Constantine, right?
Yeah, that's the origins of John Constantine. John Constantine came from Sandman, so I understand why people are like on the fence about that one. Now Jenna Coleman, I mean,
Yeah,
if this is just a contained story, I mean, go ahead and take those artistic liberties. But if you were about to spread it, in my opinion, if you're going to spread it into the DC EU, which they could do if they wanted to, and I don't think that they should. As long as it's contained, you know what I mean? Look, don't bury the lead here. Jenna Coleman is going to be the female John Constantine. I want to see a cigarette in her hand every 2 seconds.
Yeah, and she better be cussing. I'm just saying.
Cussing like crazy. Cussing like a sailor.
Jenna Coleman, but also Jenna Coleman has nerd cred here because she was in Doctor Who. So people recognize her from that. And then who else we have? Not too many other people, Adam. I don't know if there's too many people I'm missing here of main characters, but there's huge cast for this show and a lot of good actors that, like I said, I'm not familiar with, but a lot of characters that I am familiar with. So, did we miss any main besides Death? Who's the one that we're really looking for, or you're looking for?
Constantine. That's the one we talked about.
Yeah, that's kind of the one too, where I'm just like, oof.
I don't see. What's Adam and Eve's kid's name? He kills the other one. Cain and Abel. I don't see Cain and Abel on here.
Let's see what we got here. So we got the Corinthian, Lucine, Rose Walker, Desire, Lita Hall, Unity Kincaid, John D, Jed Walker, Joanna Constantine, Ethel Cripps, young Ethel Cripps, Hal Carter, Hector Hall, Barbie, Ken, Zelda, the Good Doctor, Chantel, Nimrod, Gilbert, Armed Officer, Lucifer, played by Glenn Christie. She's from Game of Thrones and Star Wars. Martin Tenbones, Abel, is there, played by Asim Chaudhry.
Okay.
Mazakian, Fate Mother, Ruth Ben Skies, Fate Crone, Fate Maiden, Galt, Sam, Miranda Walker, Funland, Barnaby, Clarice, Carl, and this cast is just gigantic.
I mean, it's a huge cast. I mean, bottom line is that if I could just take the next couple days, I would sit and watch all 10 episodes, but I can't right now. But I could probably get it done before next week.
I'm gonna go out on a limb. I've only watched the first episode. I just watched that first episode a little bit ago. Here on Sunday, Death comes in at one episode. I'm gonna guess they're gonna save her for the final episode of the season.
Yeah, which is appropriate to the story, but that just means that they're gonna really, because it is sort of a slow burn until you meet Death. So
yeah, it seemed like it's once again, we've said it on the show. I don't mind a nice, slowly paced story. It just has to be entertaining. So,
well, good, man.
A little bit of juice, a little bit of energy drink to get me through the evening here. So, all right, Adam. So you're giving it the recommend. Go check it out. Not only go check out the Netflix series, but go read the comic as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen episode 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10. So maybe I will change my tune I don't think so, though. Usually, when people start off making something quality like this in the beginning, it usually ends up pretty good. So
Well, on
we'll see.
IMDb, it's got an 8.1 rating, which anything above a 7 is, you know, frankly fantastic. And I think even on Rotten Tomatoes, I think it's one of the few times on Rotten Tomatoes where the critic score is in line with the audience score, which is, I think it's right around an 85. So once again, we don't go off of critics' ratings because we don't care what they say. We want you to make up your own mind for when you watch things. But it seems like a lot of people are watching it and a lot of people are enjoying it. But at the same time, Adam, we aren't one of those YouTube channels that's going to give everything away before everybody's watched it. Like I said, we've only watched one episode. See, it's one of the things I always got frustrated with. Hey, this show just came out on Netflix, and there's already a YouTuber who's already watched the entire thing and wants to spoil everything for you. We're not going to do that for you. We're at least going to give you a couple weeks. So we're going to talk about the show periodically. We're going to take it chunk by chunk. But yeah, we're not going to, I don't know if we're necessarily going to watch it along with you, but we're definitely not going to just binge the entire thing and spoil it for you. We're going to talk about it in chunks. So
Sandman is a journey.
Thank you, Adam.
It is. It is. It really is.
Well, you were telling me the quote earlier about when you read the graphic novel, there's an introduction. What's the introduction say, Adam?
So there's a journalist. I can't give you his name. I don't remember it. But in the 30th anniversary special edition graphic novels, in the beginning, the inside cover, there's notes from journalists and all this kind of stuff. And this journalist said that if this is your first time reading this comic book, I'm jealous. And basically what he was saying is like you're in for such a treat that you're never going to be able to experience this for the first time again. And he was right. I felt that way after I read the first graphic novel. And after seeing the first episode, excuse me, very tired here, long day, sorry. After seeing the first episode, I feel like they treated it with so much integrity that this is going to be a treat. So,
all right. So definitely, so far, Sandman is a recommend. And in case you are wondering, we are going to review the Hulu movie Prey, which is part of the Predator series. We're going to review that Tuesday, so we're going to save that for Tuesday. So if you want to watch and review that with us on Tuesday, please do that. But other than that, Adam, I think it's time to wrap it up, unless there's anything else you wanted to talk about real quick.
love you, Planet Houston.
All right. So thank you guys so much. We have some new subscribers, Adam. We're almost to 50. Thank you guys so much for
love you guys.
All the views, all the watches, all the love, the likes. Thank you guys so much. And hopefully get us to 50 and beyond. Thank you guys so much. But you can, if you want to get in touch with us, we're on Facebook and Instagram. Obviously, you're watching us on YouTube. But if you want to download our podcast, it will be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. And I didn't update the thing. We're also on Google Podcasts. So whatever platform you have, we should be available for you to download. If you have the Amazon Music, that also includes Audible. So you can take us with you wherever you go, and you can listen to us. And we always appreciate feedback for what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong. But just want to thank everybody who watches, and thanks so much.
Thank you, folks.
Good night, America.
Good night.